And welcome to Heller Barnes. And we're gonna have a right. We've had a great time talking before the show, laughing at each other and calling each other names and all sorts of good stuff. But we are super happy that you're here live as well. You can put things in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And Johnny, you get the honor to tell us about our guest Patrick here and how did you two meet and how long you been 2 weeks ago. What's
Let's
happening,
see.
Johnny?
This will be a bit of a mystery.
Hmm.
Patrick and I have known each other. I knew him before the beard, and before we both had gray hairs. So it had to be some.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Well, so to be
Sweet.
honest, like so many of the guests, I don't remember not knowing them. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know how Patrick and I surely met at some APAC or audiobook get together, and we've been pretty good friends. A matter of fact, was it last year? We did our 2 years ago. You were in town?
3 years ago now.
Was it that?
Jesus. Yeah.
Wow,
Oh, wait,
'cause
no. It was 2 years ago because, yeah, it was the show.
yeah, so
All right,
Patrick was
yeah.
visiting. He lives out in, Texas now. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you've heard of Texas. He lives out there in that sorry state, and,
Oh, hey,
and well,
don't mess with Texas.
it's why would anyone bother? Um, but so he was here in town, so we took him on a nice stroll, Joanna and I, through Central Park. We
Oh,
went
yeah. Oh, that was
all the way
beautiful.
pretty much to the top, and then cut over to the west side to a place that, is still there, a Mexican restaurant, and
Thank
spent the
goodness.
day quaffing margaritas and eating nachos. So,
That was
that was my
those were
last
good times.
that was a great time, and that was
Yeah,
the last time we hung out, so that was a while
it
ago, but
was.
we're in
Yeah.
touch via, the internet that all the kids are using. So so we've,
Yeah.
we yeah, he's a actually, when we were talking, it wasn't about he was in town to do a show, as a matter of fact,
That's right.
because Patrick does a lot of theater stuff.
That's
Anyway,
right.
that's Patrick Lawlor. We'll see y'all next week. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
And do you have a couple books on Audible these days?
I have a couple. Yeah. There's actually, I just finished number 650, but they're not all on Audible yet. I think I got 600 something on there. So,
Okay.
yeah, check them out. And I'm currently working on my one of my favorite series. It's called Apocalypticon, and that's the series. And the book that I'm working on is Slaughterhouse Run. And basically, to like put it in a nutshell, it's a post-apocalyptic buddy travel series where these two guys from Chicago at the end of the world after the Jamaicans have bombed the world with flying monkey shaped nuclear devices that melt people. Uh, they've decided they need to go to Disney World. And it's basically their adventures. And I don't want to give anything away because we're on the fourth book now, but it is hilarious. The author's name is Clayton Smith. And it's not often you can say you got a hilarious zombie series, but
Yeah.
this one's pretty dang good, you know. So
Yeah, that's great. So
so
sometimes I can't remember there's one I did that was really cool about these guys who are like they're desk jockeys in some crabby little warehouse factory in Florida.
uh-huh.
Just help center guys. So their
Sure.
life blows, they have lunch at Taco Bell or something, that's it. So there's a zombie thing happened. The federal government the zombies get out, and this one guy particularly becomes really adept at killing zombies. He's just
Wow.
good at it. So he becomes
Who
somebody
knew?
of a hero, and they take over. Zombies don't like water, so they take over this water park. So it's got this like moat around it, so they live on the rides and shit. And they venture out, kill zombies, get what they need to come back. And he has his whim, he's loving his life. So
Well, who
so finally
wouldn't?
the zombies are all wiped out. And he has to go back to work at the help desk.
Oh man,
And
what a
so
letdown. Jeez.
that's why he and his pals find some leftover zombies and try and restart the zombie apocalypse because they had a better life. It's a brilliant notion.
You get all the good books.
Well, that
Man.
it didn't go. I thought it was wonderful.
Oh my
In
God.
general, I don't do any. I'll do zombie books. I will not watch a single thing with zombies in it on
Oh
TV or
no.
movies.
Well, technically mine don't have zombies.
No,
These people are alive. They're just affected by what's called monkey dust,
monkey
which
dust.
from the flying monkeys that the Jamaicans for
Yes,
some reason you know,
I love it. It's
and it
Jamaicans who did
I
it.
was gonna
oh, me
say,
too. It's
you
like,
know,
you know
it's so cliche that the Jamaicans are nuclear bombing the rest
Yeah.
of the world.
exactly, you know, and
You know, it's those if it's not the Jamaicans, it's those damn Luxembourgians, you know?
oh, I
Yeah.
hate them. Oh, if there's any Luxembourgians listening right now, cover your ears because I
Yeah,
got a
that's
few
right,
things
you
to say.
sons of bitches.
You betcha. The Luxies.
You
I don't know. I can't even
hanging out
talk
with your
about them.
Monaco wastrels. Yeah.
I cannot stand them.
So do you because you're
Anyways,
doing all these so obviously when you're doing lit RPG and you're doing series and you're on book 4, then that means you're constantly doing these. Are you also doing other books at the same time that are not part of these series and you're having to manage because some of these
oh yeah.
yeah?
Oh yeah. No, I've got a couple in the hopper now. I've got a self-help book and a book on let's not fuck up the environment, which is that's not the
Is it
title.
called that?
No, but I wish it was,
That's
you know,
great.
and so I've got those going now, and I just finished a history of college sports, which was quite intriguing. And so yeah, I juggle a lot of stuff, and right now is a really perfect time for this because I'm actually between books. I'm just ready to start my apocalypse book, and I just finished the other one, so I'm
Are you
taking a
doing
little bit of a
any
breather.
theater stuff right now?
I'm not. I haven't. In fact, the last play I did was the one I saw you during,
Oh, wow.
which was a great experience. A little theater called the Schoolhouse Theater out in Westchester, out in Croton Falls,
Yeah.
and it's a fantastic little theater. It's their third season back from the pandemic, but it's their 40th season. And there's been a lot of heavyweights out there, and we reopened it with a play called Red, which was about Mark Rothko, and it was a blast. And we won all kinds of, audio or not audio. Sorry, I'm skipping Broadway World Awards and things
Yeah.
like that. So it was quite fun. But there's not a lot here because I'm a union guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
tried and true, and there's not a lot of union stuff out here.
I mean,
So
Union Theater in
oddly,
Texas, you mean?
oddly, there's about 3 or 4 union theaters around me. So
Yeah.
I haven't really ventured out, and
Well,
looking forward to getting back to it at some point, though.
now Texas is a little place. Which part of Texas are you in?
All of it.
All of it. Okay.
No, I live in
Got a
Austin.
huge ranch.
Yeah, that's right. You
And
may have heard it. It's called the West. I live in the
so when you're
West.
doing these, when you're doing these, uh, you implied that you're doing one and you're ready to start another. Are you doing them sometimes concurrently, where you're doing part of your morning,
Wait,
Jamaicans?
he's in Austin, by the way, because he never
Oh yeah,
really
Austin,
he's in
Texas.
Austin.
That's right.
Yes, and when
Yeah.
you're doing the books, are you
Yes.
doing are you doing 2 of them at once? Do you do just all of one book and then do the next one, or sometimes you're juggling within the same day?
Yeah. Generally, I try to keep them separate. I try to only be recording one, and maybe prepping 2 or 3 at the same time. Going through and reading them and making sure I know how to say all the words and
Oh, you're
things
one of
like
those
that.
people that pre-reads?
Oh my God, yes, always. Every single book I do, I pre-read.
No, now
Okay, enough of that. But
yeah.
but yes, I do. I generally pre-read everything just to make sure I know what's coming and I know uh, how to say everything, and make sure that I don't, you know, especially for fiction, I don't want to pull the wrong voice and then page 410 find out that the guy is Australian.
Yeah.
So I actually, my very first full book, which I prepped the hell out of, I pre-read it like 5 times and, highlighted every single bit of dialogue with a different color marker. And oh, it crazy. We'll get back to that because I've got a funny thing about that. But yeah, on page 415, they said, although he had lived in the United States for most of his life, Johnny could never shake his Australian accent. And so I was kind of grateful
Crikey.
on my homework.
Crikey, mate.
Crikey, mate.
They were talking about
Oh, and
Johnny. Yeah.
that's right. But yeah, but during that, I met this wonderful man who I can speak of now. He's no longer with us, sadly. Dick Hill
Oh,
was
Dick,
a
yeah.
legend. If there is a Mount Rushmore of audiobooks, he's two of the heads. So he's like an amazing dude. just a character in real life. And it was my first full book, and I was out at Brilliance Audio in Michigan, and so I was away from home. And he said, let me take you out to dinner. And so he took me to this place called the Tip of Few Tavern, which was great. It's a bar that served Mexican food in Grand Haven, Michigan. And it was fantastic. And at the time you could smoke. And so it was a smoky bar, et cetera, et cetera. And Dick was this little skinny dude, probably 5'6", 5'5", skinny, grizzled, looked a little bit like the dad from that 70s show,
Oh, yeah.
except really tough, and always wore like a, O.J. Simpson Lucky Stabbing hat. You know what I'm talking about, right? And ex-Marine, the whole thing, and just has this wonderful voice, and he's sitting across from me in the smoky bar, and we've kind of finished half our burritos, and so he lights up and he's looking at me and he's like, tell me about your process. And so I went through the whole thing about underlining all this shit and reading it and blah 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 blah, and he just stared at me for a while and just kind of went, maybe you can do less. Put it out, put the cigarette out in the burrito. And that was it. So that was my education in audiobooks. That's all the instruction I've been given in 20 years of doing
How
it.
did you start? How'd you get involved?
Well, when I started back in the day, they were actually looking for people. They were just switching over. Some people were switching over to digital, and audiobooks was just kind of catching on. This is like 2000, 2001. And they had this thing. I was actually trying to break into animation. And so I was taking classes in LA, and this lady says, have you thought about audiobooks? And I kind of said no. And she said, well, they're having this thing in New York. They're looking for people, and it's a weekend, and it'll be all the publishers will be there, and it'll be $2,100 or something like that. And I was like, fuck that. But I thought about it, and I said, well, yeah, I'll do it. And so it was called the oh god, I don't even remember what it was called. But anyway, the deal was you got there and you had dinner the first night, or you had cocktails the first night, and then dinner with all the publishers. And at that time, all the publishers were there. And they sat you randomly with different people at dinner, and you talked. And then the next morning, there was an audition where you got up and you read 5 minutes of stuff. And all the publishers were sitting there taking notes in the room, in the classroom. So we did that. And then then you had lunch, where they again sat you randomly with different publishers and narrators. And then in the afternoon, they did speed dating, which, for those of you that don't know kind of what that is, each publisher sat at a table, and then each auditioner would sit with them. And at the bell, which happened every 5 minutes, the narrators would get up and walk to the next table. So it was like,
Oh, yeah.
it was like a
I
speed
don't know if
dating.
I was at that one, but I remember something just like that.
Yeah, they're still doing that, I think.
Yeah.
I think they still do that at APAC,
Yeah.
or they started doing it again. And then at the end, there's a cocktail party.
Yeah.
And that was your deal. And so you got to go and you got to meet everybody and talk. And so I went and I sat with the guys from Brilliance, who I'd been working with them ever since. And then the next morning did my pieces, a piece about some comedy piece, I don't remember, and something sad about a dying dog, which always is good for, tear jerking.
Yeah.
And then at lunch, between that and lunch, a guy comes up to me and says, I think I have the perfect thing for you. I have this perfect thing. Your voice is perfect for what I've got. I'll bring it to you later. So I was like, yeah, cool.
Nice.
And he said, yeah, we need to record it on Monday. And this was, like Friday and Saturday
Yeah,
was
yeah.
this thing. And so I had to stay over an extra day. And he said, I'll bring you the copy at the cocktail party. And I said, oh yeah, good, great, cool. And so I do the speed dating. We do the lunch, do the speed dating, where the only kind of exciting thing that happened was I sat down with one publisher and he just kind of looked at me and said, there's really no way I'm ever going to use you. And, and he picked up a newspaper and started reading it.
It's like, are they sitting down and having them swipe left?
Yeah, and it's like 5 minutes can be seriously long when you're being totally ignored. But anyway, I made it through that and met some really lovely people. And I got to say, the audiobook community is
Yeah.
freaking amazing. They're just great people.
Patrick, what's weird to me is I had a similar. I don't know if it was the same place or the same guy, but a very similar thing happened to me early on when they first started that speed dating thing, and I went there. And there's a guy. There's a company. I'm not gonna say what it is. A person I didn't like from a publisher I didn't like, and really didn't have a good experience with because I had already been working, so I knew them. But sometimes it's nice to be seen, and I happened to have to sit at his table. And it was so uncomfortable. I sat down. I'm looking at them like, hey. I said, this is. I said, let's just wait for the bell. And he goes, all right. And we just sat.
Yeah, no newspaper.
It was as uncomfortable as it could be.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it would have been worse.
I don't like you. You don't like me.
Yeah.
Now, what year was that roughly?
Johnny?
Oh, that what I'm talking about? Maybe. Oh gosh, probably around 2000 or so. I can't remember. I don't remember yesterday, let alone what year this was.
It might have been the year before me. I was 2001. So
yeah, I honestly don't remember because that speed dating when they started with was a great idea when they started, and it still is a great idea.
Well, if everybody,
and it's a great way to just, yeah.
I mean,
well, there used to be. I'll tell you. I'll wax poetic about a time long ago.
Go ahead.
There was a. We used to do, but we meaning the APA used to have those cocktail parties they have down on the West Coast and East Coast. They had more of them.
Right.
This is way pre-COVID. Used to have a lot, and initially, I recall, the APAC would be there, and you would have a lot of publishers there. I mean, if there were less than 5, it was surprising. Usually, plenty more.
Oh yeah, because
what happened was
they wanted people.
Well, but it's our fault. It's the actors' fault. The actors were they did not. I'll be honest. They didn't behave like human beings at a cocktail party.
Exactly.
They behaved like free football tickets to the Super Bowl or something. It was just they just grouped up and gathered up, and it was just uncomfortable so the publishers stopped coming after a while, and we were just left with Paul Rubin, and who wants to talk to him for an hour?
No shit.
So there you have. So yeah, my God. So, but it was all these publishers, and it was great. And now it's like I'm not going to that thing.
Oh
so
no,
it's,
I know.
It's one of the things that if you're listening, you're new out there. When you meet publishers, they're people just like you, and they have interests, and they have and they know you want a job, but understand they want to hire you. They're looking for talent.
That was
so you need to get rid of that hero worship crap and just treat them like good, decent, wonderful people that they are.
Now you were a greeter for a while, right? With the APA.
Yeah, way back when. I'm not even in APAC anymore. When I believed in the APA,
Neither am I.
Yeah.
In fact,
in the days when I was susceptible to it.
They didn't let me into the mixer. I had to get Simon Vance to vouch for me at the mixer.
Yeah.
So luckily Simon's a stand-up fabulous human.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
But anyway, you were a greeter. That was one of the first things. It was a great thing where we would welcome new people into the APA.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I would say, because they were always like, talk up APAC. And the first thing I would say is go, but be a person, be you. Don't go with your autograph book and your date book and try to make appointments. Don't talk shop, because everybody there knows you want to be doing your particular job in this industry. Just go and make a connection, because 90% of the work I've gotten has been from making connections with
Oh, yeah.
actual connections with people, not hey, I understand you've got a company. Can you hire me and give me work? You know, it's nobody wants to
Things
hear
come
that.
up when you've been in the business for a while, and you and I have, we get sometimes people call, hey, they'll offer us something. We say, hey, I can't. A lot of times, if I get offered a book that I can't do time wise, money wise, some wise, I'll recommend someone I think may be available.
Mhm.
I know what Patrick sounds like. I can say, Pat, frequently the person you recommend won't know the recommendation came from you, but the
Right.
publisher will. And you're not looking for a piece of the action. You're just
Yeah.
sharing the opportunity, and that's really appreciated. If the person you recommend is actually good and a good person, your recommendation is really appreciated. And
Oh, and remembered.
yeah,
Yeah.
as you and I have said to people talking to us all the time, you got to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. It's that
Exactly.
simple.
And more in audiobooks than any other like performing industry I've been in, it really is we all do better when we all do better. You know, it's like we're
Yeah,
all there for each other more than any
yeah.
place. God, I look even older without glasses, don't
No,
I?
you look
Anyway,
fantastic.
but you know what I mean? It's like it's really a community, even more than theater, which is a pretty community
Yeah, yeah,
based thing. Audiobooks, I've really felt, and I've only been in it since 2001. I'm kind
yeah.
of a newbie. But
Yeah, only 20 years,
yeah,
24 years.
I've only been in it since digital. So actually I do remember some of the earlier books where we would record like a side of a cassette and then
Yep.
take a break and then come in and record a side of a cassette.
That's how long, you recorded it as long as a cassette. You stopped the length of a cassette,
Right.
and
And then
then you
you
take
got
a
a
break.
break. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And someone would get paid a union scale to say, "This completes side 2. Please turn the cassette over to side B."
oh,
And
those are the
you
choice gigs,
yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah, yeah, nice, yeah. Yeah, getting paid for that.
Oh yeah. Have you ever done it where they've just basically given you a day
A day
of
of
end
that.
statements and yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You'd come in for, like, 2 hours and just do intros and outros
Yeah.
and
You get a
turn
nice
the cassette over
paycheck.
to side 3.
Yeah. It's yeah. I can't listen to this audio presents Johnny Heller. Yeah. Now
This book blows.
So do
Turn the
you
side
ever
over.
these days you don't have to go into any studios. Are you doing 98% from your place?
I do right now I do all of it from here. I miss it. I miss the studios. The studios was a totally different experience and in my mind a better experience. But, bottom line has kind of taken over the industry. So, you know, a lot of us now record in, closets or little booths at home all by ourselves. I basically describe my job as sitting in a small padded room talking out loud, to no one in particular. But no, I miss the days when you would have an engineer doing the engineering and a director uh kind of watching book and making sure you're saying all the words right and making sure that you don't suck, and then you could just concentrate on telling the story and getting the stuff across. And it was kind of it was kind of good because you also got to talk to people and you didn't get this sense of sort of isolation. And now it's kind of a lot of the industry, especially outside of LA and New York, is kind of a one man band kind of thing where you gotta be running the well, I use Pro Tools, so you gotta be running the Pro Tools with your left hand and talking into the mic and watching the waveforms and also sort of trying to come up with some sort of character. And it's a pretty schizophrenic operation.
Yeah.
So
There's always a
And
lot to do. So,
yeah.
here you are. So how long you're out there in Austin. This is your booth is not a solid structure. It's sound blankets around a frame or something?
It is not. The sound blankets that you see is just that I the place that I the reconverted closet that I turned into a booth is near a window. The
Ah,
rest of my office you can't see. It's right outside of here, but there's windows right in front of them. So I get some noise. So I've added like things like the first thing I did was I came in and soundproofed the entire
Yeah.
thing with actual let's see, I'll go this way. No, it's this way. Yeah, you can see the there's foam right
Oh, yeah, I
there.
see a little foam behind you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's actual acoustic foam, and under that there's a layer of hardcore foam, and then under that there's a wall with air, and then another wall. So it's a it's a
It's a room within a room.
it's a
Yeah.
bona fide booth. But then I was getting some bleed from air conditioner, which you have to have in Texas because from now until October it's not going to be under 90 for more than a couple of days. Uh, so so I was getting bleed from that. So I bought these acoustic blankets for, you know,
Yeah.
practically nothing. They're great. And they double as, moving stuff for your furniture. You can
Right.
put them over it and stuff. It literally, that's what they are. Um, but they deaden like nothing I've ever dealt with. And so they muffle the sound completely. So now I've got a completely soundproof booth when I close the door. So
Excellent.
yeah, so it's real makeshift, and I've been kind of militant about it, about not buying a booth from these people. There's wonderful people that sell booths, and they make beautiful products, and
But
they're fantastic. But I've always lived in a place where, well, since that happened, since the whole home recording craze
yeah.
has taken off, I've always lived someplace where shipping was an arm and a leg to get a
Oh,
booth.
yes, I never thought of yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, I lived in Milwaukee for years and years, and the closest I could get was Los Angeles, um, and
Didn't we get together at a Bucks game once? I think I saw
I
you in front.
I don't yeah, we were in different places, and I was
Yeah,
like,
but I think we ran into each other coming into or out of the Bucks game.
we may have
I'm
I
almost
see,
sure of it.
I'm like you, I
Yeah.
actually when he asked the question of how we met, I'd actually
I
when you asked me to do this, I actually had to think back, and there in my mind, there has never been a pre-Johnny Heller time. So I think it's fairly early that we met.
I'm hoping there won't be a post Johnny Heller time, yeah.
Yeah, so am I. Geez, knock on wood. Geez.
Yeah.
Others are believing
Oh.
otherwise. So
Yeah, all of a sudden the screen blows up over here with when he
You're
goes,
making
can I have
you're
the
making monkey dust. Yeah.
But so
I
I
tried
want to
to do that
reiterate
last
this,
night.
and then we'll ask this. We have a couple questions here that we'll take
Sure.
on.
Oh yeah,
So you essentially, though, did you build this booth yourself? Like, so you have a
I did.
room within a room. You had a
Mhm.
closet, and then within it, you put an extra wall in there. Is that correct? Basically.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, and you did
And
it.
then
You did it yourself, or you hired somebody to do that?
I am a cheap bastard, so I did it myself. And I'm sure there are people that do it better, faster, and well, I don't know about cheaper, but because I have no actual skills other than talking. So it took me a long time, and it was trial and error. Like I would set up something, and then I would have to record something and listen and say, oh, that's crap. Okay, now I need to do this. And okay, that's still crap, but not quite as bad. And so it was a long process to get this done. And I don't necessarily recommend it. I recommend finding someone who knows what they're doing, because in the long run, it's probably going to save you a lot of time and might even save you money.
Yeah, and but I do love the incremental approach. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you don't have to start off with everything treated to the hilt. I mean, some locations need just absorbing the reflections, and some
exactly.
locations need a ton of isolation. Since you had a window,
Absolutely.
you need more
Absolutely.
isolation. So it's not a one size fits all. There are some places
Right.
where I've seen people just put up good blankets and that's all they
Oh,
need, but that's
yeah.
I
because the
Yeah,
location they're at. And then
yeah.
others, man, that isn't even gonna that's not gonna stop. It's not gonna work at all.
Yeah.
So
Oh
it
yeah.
is site specific, and but it's cool that
Jo
you did it incrementally. Yeah, you try
Oh
it,
yeah.
you
yeah.
Well,
check it out.
Joanna and I have been looking for a potential place in Manhattan to move to if we can find one, but every place I go, I'm trying to find where do I put a booth? And I have a whisper booth, and I've had it for
oh yeah,
12
nice.
years. And I don't know if I'll bring this one. I mean, I might get a nice, I know that other booths are more this is pretty old, but I see my friend Sean has, like you have,
A travel
it's
booth.
a frame set up with these acoustic blankets. So I've almost every apartment I think I might buy. There's been a number. I contact Don. I say, "Do you think it'll work in here?" And so I
Well,
don't know, but I assume almost any place you go, you can figure
eh.
something out.
Well, the problem with Manhattan is there's pretty much a continual buzz, so you have to make sure
Yeah.
that, there's life and activity everywhere in
Yeah,
Manhattan. So
I've been very lucky in where we live, which is a very busy street.
oh,
The
yeah,
sound just it's pretty quiet in this booth. I've had no complaints.
yeah,
My work people, of course, have complained, but the
sure.
sound of the booth they seem to like.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a real easy, I don't know what you would call it, instructions on building the cheapest possible booth you can, and that is, basically with PVC pipe and, these.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but that's too cheap, it's like I can't, although I have recorded books, and I won't say the
yeah.
titles, in blanket forts,
Well, I
Yeah.
yeah.
it's they say "Redime te captum quam queas minimo,"
Well,
so,
I'm pushing for, some, audiobooks in mime. I think that'll really go far, and,
oh,
won't
yeah.
matter about your booth. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I recorded the Where's Waldo series, it was a really, really big challenge to keep the noise out. So if you can find those, by the way, get a copy because they're very rare.
So Dave asked, your opinions on the trend at Audible to use AI voice. Well, and he has no opinion. Yeah.
I have no opinion.
Yeah. Well, Dave as well. Did you see his comment there? I don't know if you can read that on
I
your
I
screen.
can't really read them. What
Can
does
you
it
see
Yeah,
say?
the
it's hard to
one at
read.
the bottom?
Johnny.
Nope. Anyway.
I can no. It's all very blurry for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's not
Anyway, I have it up on the screen. So
Okay.
oh.
you so I'll just take that as a non thumbs up. Is that what I'm
Yes. Save AI for like curing cancer and fixing the environment and stuff like that, and let me read books.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe from a
You know.
medical and scientific standpoint, AI has a lot of things it can do that's great for us, but in terms of creating, it
Yeah.
can't, it won't, and let artists be artists and stop.
Who was? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. This just infuriates me, the idea that
Oh,
AI
me
is
too.
encroaching because people are too damn cheap to read. If authors don't want talent to do their books, then
Yeah.
it's up to
Do
you,
it
man.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like somebody said, and it was a fellow narrator, and I can't remember. It might have been one of those online meetings that we were at or something. But they said, I don't want. I want AI to do my laundry so I can create art. I don't want it
Oh,
to
yes,
create
yeah.
art so I can do my laundry.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's true. AI is beautiful. It's brilliant. It could save the world if we let it.
Oh, yeah.
But we do it's not art. It's a different thing. And I'm presuming and saying audiobooks are art because sometimes they are. But it's the great thing about audiobooks is you've got somebody telling you a story or giving you information. You've got a person communicating into your ears. And that's I mean, if it's a training manual or something where, put put tab A into socket B, you can do that. And that's fine, but
Yeah, well that
why?
doesn't yeah.
Yeah.
That'd still be better with a person, but that doesn't
It
require
still
an
would be. Yeah.
emotional connection
Yeah.
to the material in order to put A in slot B and, pound the
Exactly.
nail here type stuff.
But
So,
yeah, I mean, there's no place for it. And we don't need to bring Tupac back and have him present an award. And we don't need to, have, you know,
he's
all these,
probably
somebody's accent changed
Ugh.
digitally. And then, my opinion, totally. It's like, do it, just that's part of the actor's art. That's part of the narrator's art. That's what we do. And if you take that away so that, you can do it cheaper and faster, shame on you. That's
Yeah.
and you can quote me on that.
Now, let me ask you a quick question before we take this next one. Sharon Beavan mentioned, and also I saw Don in his ads to promote this exciting chat. What is this? Pavel? What the hell's your
Oh, they're
what
who?
is this crazy name that Sharon Beavan knows? By the way, she says thanks for recommending her as a proofer, but what she knows you as Pavel?
She doesn't know me as Pavel.
Well,
Yes,
Um,
she
let
does.
me start the
okay,
whole thing because
Yeah.
this is how this all started.
all right.
So when we have a guest on, a lot of times I know them. I mean, but I know them socially. I met them, we've talked, we've had some, so our paths have crossed. But then when it's time to do this, I got to go, yeah, but I don't have any idea. Has he done 13 books in the last year or 400? So I go out to Google and I put in his name. Johnny, on our guest list thing, he had your email address right, but he typoed your name wrong and he put an A in your last name. And I just grab it and throw it in Google. And I came up with the wrong Patrick. And it wasn't exactly because your last name is
Oh,
spelled Lor at the end, correct? I mean, in fact,
Yes.
I'll even write it out. And on our original sheet, it was Lar. So I do this
oh.
search. Well, Google kind of took what I paid. Funny, it did not, it took the AI approach and said, well, Don spelled it this way.
So
Okay.
therefore,
And it gave me
Uh,
yours. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, it doesn't make sense. And then I go look at your social media feed. And I'm like, he doesn't even mention that name or any, I mean, but anyway, it
no.
was one of those things where it's like,
oh,
okay, how much time
Well,
am I going to spend cross checking? I've got the guy's name. Johnny's known him for a while. I just got to go, well, so all that's a mistake on my part from not doing more homework to
yes, it
verify
is.
that I have the correct spelling. And then I went back because it didn't feel right exactly. And I looked at your email address. I thought, well, if this guy spells his email address wrong because it was different, then
you want to fire me from booking the guests?
You're
I'll
done.
no, I know you normally have it 100% right. This is the one time. So that's why the promotion went out with another name. So at least people should know.
Oh,
Now, aren't there some
Ah,
other actors as well with a similar name to you?
there's for some reason, and I had no idea this when I joined SAG. There's a ton of Pat Lawlors out there. Patrick Lawlors, J. Patrick Lawlor. J. Patrick Lawlor being the one who joined SAG like something like 2 or 3 weeks before me.
oh.
So he got the name thanks to the Michael J. Fox rule, which there was a Michael Fox, and then Michael J. Fox became Michael J. Fox, caused all kinds of trouble. So now you can't be that close to another person's name. So technically, I am Patrick Gerard Lawlor, Girard.
Your parents couldn't even spell Gerard right?
No, that's Saint Gerard, the patron saint of troubled childbirths.
Oh, well, there you okay.
Because my head was this big when I was born.
And
All right,
bearded.
the red and bearded, yeah. So it hurt and tickled at the same time. I don't want to get into it, but my
I
mother,
get no respect, I'll tell you.
my my dear mother, she, God bless her, she went through with it. But anyway, yeah, there's J. Patrick Lawlor, who, to complicate matters, has also done one or two audiobooks.
Oh
But
my.
but he's done one or two audiobooks. He's mostly a TV guy,
Yeah.
and so I'm Patrick Gerard Lawlor, and
When you narrate a book, do you say narrated by Patrick Gerard Lawlor?
I don't, which adds to the confusion. I basically my equity name is Patrick Lawlor. I got
Oh,
that one in under the gun. So, and for those of you listening at home who don't know equity, that's the Stage Actors Union.
yeah.
But anyway, so I'm just so used to it that I just keep doing it, and everybody knows me that way. And if you look me up, if you look up Patrick Lawlor, generally I'm the first one up.
Yeah.
And there's pictures of me, so
Yeah.
remember this face. Uh, but I'm the one that's done a bunch of audiobooks and not really much else. A bunch of audiobooks in theater and not really much else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But there's also,
you do come up
oh,
on Audible with over 600 books. So I mean, if
I do.
Yeah, it's
that
not like it
that
was
was the
yeah.
first thing that tipped me off to I had the wrong thing was there were about 15 audiobooks or 10 under your name that I had misspelled. And then,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, that doesn't seem right. Maybe he has a pseudonym. And then I Google it and it came up with this pseudonym. And I look at that and it's got, well, there's hundreds under that pseudonym. And I thought, well, maybe he's got another pseudonym that I just don't know about. Okay. Well,
Well, well, that's the good Patrick Lawlor. That's the one that knows what he's doing.
well, you've done way
I'm still
more
making
than
it up.
these other,
Let,
these.
us look at, can you highlight Marianne Gallagher's, I
Yes,
don't
I
know what
can.
she's, I can't see what she says here.
I'm a newbie, under 2 years, just I see it. I
I
can
can see
actually
it
read
in
it.
just,
Here you go.
I wonder if you have any suggestions. Here, Don, you get to read
Okay,
that.
I'm a
That's you.
newbie under 2 years and just 7 books, and I'm wondering if you have any suggestions on how to create, perfect various character voices, not animated, just different men and women in novels.
Hmm, okay. You want me to start, or do you wanna
You
start?
start.
Alright. Well, it's acting. If you're talking about novels, you're talking about characters, and really the bottom line of characters is getting into their essence rather than worrying so much about the voice. The voice, pretty much every narrator that's done this for a while has a different style that they develop, and um, if you want to do a different, unique voice for each person, uh, there are tons of ways to do it. But what works for me is I read over it and just try to get, like, what is this character all about? Is he, what's his thing, like you would for any other acting assignment, and then let that feed your idea of what the voice is. If you try to do it the other way around, you're going to end up with, a lot of just weird characters. Now that said, you can't do that for every character in a novel. So I save my weird or eccentric voices for characters with 2 or 3 lines, or characters that show up maybe for one scene and then are, killed by the scary axe murderer or
You
something.
make sure they're killed so that they don't come back in some other where you have to do that
That
weird
has
voice for another 400 pages
that
later.
has bit me in the ass more times than I can tell you. And
No,
then also make notes that you'll remember. Like, I don't do impersonations because I'm horrible at it. But if I put, like, um, Sean Connery on my thing, and I'll know that if I do a Sean Connery accent, it's going to come out this character. It's not going to come out Sean Connery. It's not even going to come out close. Might even not come out
yeah,
Scottish,
yeah.
but it will be that character. So find a trigger word that you can always go back to, so you can keep it consistent.
So are most of
Uh,
your characters inspired, like in the back of your mind, like you have a, this is Sean, this is your Sean Connery, this is your uh, uh,
yeah,
Fox, this is, I mean, you pick
yeah,
somebody and you have a reference in your head for most of yours.
yeah. I call it like my internal casting agency, and I have a certain stable of voices in
Characters.
my literally
Yeah.
voices in my head, yeah, that I'll go, okay, this is hero guy, but he's a bit of a dick, and then I'll modify
Yeah.
those. Another good tip along that line is to have 5 or 6 standard stock things that you're going to run up against over and over again, and then the character that speaks the most, get it as close to your natural voice as you possibly can. It'll save you a lot of heartache, headache. It just keeps things flowing smoothly. Um, and like I say, everybody has a different way of doing it. So, Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think everything you're saying is fine. I think the important thing is, one, you don't want to do a voice because you can do a voice. A
Exactly.
voice is, just some. The author wrote a character. It's my belief, and you've heard me say it on these shows for the 2 years or whatever we've been doing it in my coaching. Um, I think audiobook narration is a cinematic acting experience. So you're seeing the author writes a scene and you see it. Who's in that scene? I think generally the protagonist, if it's Patrick Lawlor, it's going to be Patrick Lawlor. He's not going to do a whole lot different. He's going to sound like he sounds. Don will sound like he sounds. I sound like I sound. It's the other characters, the secondary, tertiary, and other characters that populate the cast. I suggest you cast them from your frame of reference. Literally cast them. You've heard Don talk. You've seen Patrick. You see me. It could be any one of us. You don't have to impersonate us, but it'll be different. If
Right.
your character idea is any actor you've ever seen, any human you've ever known. It could be your best friend, your father-in-law. It could be your teacher from second grade. Anybody who seems to fit. It can be more generally. You could say a snippy New England lawyer. Anything you want that seems to be honest, and you experiment. And you can be a little broader with children stuff, a little more, less broad with adult stuff. And as Patrick said, you got to keep track of the characters. Don will tell you and teach you that any software you're using will have a bookmark feature. I tend to keep all my characters in my phone under voice memos. I say the character name in the book because you don't know if these people come back. You need to read the book first, but cast it from your own experience. You'll find if you are literally seeing the scene in your head, the characters will come to life for you. You'll find it's a little simpler.
Exactly.
We create problems ourselves. You have all the characters. You know 100,000 people. Pick a couple of them and use them.
Right.
But don't just play voices. And as Patrick said, impersonations, it doesn't work. If you're doing a nonfiction and the book's about Lincoln, well, can you impersonate Lincoln? Probably not. If it's about Clinton, maybe you can do a great Clinton, but what if you can't do a great George Bush and he's in the book? You can't just pick and choose, you got to go all in or not. So you need to think about it. Just play the truth of the scene and it'll be there for you.
Exactly.
I think we all create roadblocks for ourselves, obstacles in our work. And that doesn't need to be one. It's a little simpler than you think. And I think you can already do it. You just don't believe you can already do it.
Exactly.
Now, shouldn't females try to just have their voice really low when they're doing male voices?
Yeah, and men, you should suck a helium balloon before you do the female roles, and
Exactly.
that'll work for you.
Yeah, my brother once, I used to think, I can do great female voices. This is fantastic. And my brother, who actually is one of my bigger audiobook fans, one time said, when you do women, you sound like a drag queen. You really shouldn't do that anymore. And then, so I was like, oh shit. So I had to go back and listen. And honestly, all the stuff that we're saying now about what to do, if you want to hear why you should do that and not do it the other way, look at some of my earlier stuff, because I did it wrong for a lot of books. And then, you just, after a while, you just go, okay, this isn't serving any, it's not your story. Remember that it's not your book. You're serving somebody else's book. Somebody else has already poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this project. And now it's your job to take it the next step. And so you need to respect that. And so, just because you do a fantastic Daffy Duck doesn't mean he's going to be a great detective. So, just, you make the author happy as much as
so here's I'll put you on the spot here. So you're, can you do me a female drag queen voice?
No.
Okay. Thank you. But how would you do a female voice then?
Well, now, now I just try to do suggestions, and I do pitch my voice up, but I don't pitch it up like really high. I'll just pitch it up to here, and okay, this is the female, because you say she said. Right. So yeah. It's the other person you're serving here. We are basically a service industry. You're serving the author, but you're also serving the listener. You're not doing the listener's job for them. You're setting it out there so that they can enjoy the process of building these characters in their head. So a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I just want to make sure you were even clear about it. So that's excellent. So she said, thanks, really helpful. So annoying sister-in-law voice, aggravated teacher voice. Yeah, I love the idea of embodying the character first.
Yeah.
What people forget a lot too, when we talk about this from the idea of performance and coaching, the audience, when they read a book or when they listen to a book, and when they watch a film, they're already, it's in our DNA to suspend our disbelief. We accept, if Patrick's in a play playing a guy, he's not Patrick. He's whoever character he's embodying. If whatever film you watch, whatever book you listen to, if Patrick's doing any book and he's playing a female, I know he's not a female. It's Patrick Lawlor. I know he's a guy, but I suspect he's sharing the story. So he doesn't need to be a dead-on a female impressionist. He just needs to play that character. And that's
Exactly.
and where the audience is already ready to believe, or in other words, to suspend their disbelief and accept that this is what it is. So it's built into our system, and we create obstacles for ourselves by fighting what is we don't need to fight.
I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, a
Yes.
little there.
Pull
Hold
it
it down a little
down.
bit.
There it
Down,
is.
down, down there. Is
Yeah,
that you?
I'm not a female. Yeah, this is me. This is what I look like in daily life
Dame Edna? Yeah.
without the fake beard. This is what I look like.
Yeah, yeah. This is you're going out around Austin and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I chose the, granny from the Beverly
Yeah.
Hillbillies as the sexiest look I could find. Um, but
And
no,
it works for you.
that was from a COVID production, a COVID switched gender production of Importance of Being Earnest. That
Oh,
we
they do that a lot. They switch the roles a lot in
It was
that
a lot of
show.
fun. Yeah, it was a blast. And
I
for some
I hear
reason, now that I've got this up, for some reason in Austin at a
that way. No,
where is
okay,
it? There
hold
it
it
is.
there. Right
There it
there.
is. At Austin, there is a Goodwill store that for some reason had fabulous turn of the century hats. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but you can't really see it. But it's a fabulous hat. It would be like, and they had
It's
4 or
really
5
you.
of them.
You
It is
you
really
embody it well.
but they just had, and it was funny because I was with a company that was doing like weekly, we were doing shows weekly on Zoom for audiences during the pandemic, and it was a great way to kind of keep your chops up and kind of keep audiences entertained and stuff. But every time I needed something, I'd go to this, what I started calling the magic Goodwill store, because they would have whatever I was looking for. I have a big black wig that I used for a
There's a great what's
tooth.
that main street in Austin where the Capitol's on that
Oh, Congress.
Congress
Avenue.
down
Yeah.
Congress far away from the Capitol going the other way
South
is
Congress.
is a great store that's got all this Hollywood and
Oh,
costuming
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah. I've never been there, but yeah, I know what you're
I've been
talking
there. I
about.
can't remember the name of the store, but it's really fascinating.
It is. And this is like not that, but it's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's actually, if you ever get to Austin, just give yourself a day to tool around South Congress, because
Yeah, Austin's.
really cool.
I make fun of Texas only because of the politicians and not because of the state, but Austin is fantastic.
It is.
It's real. I mean, it's a really. We did a workshop, Sean Pratt and I, and Anna Clement. And, I don't think Joanna came, and it was fantastic.
Oh
Real
yeah,
nice. Just
it's great.
yeah, hotter than blazes for God's
Well,
sake.
how many places do you know where Alex Jones and Matthew McConaughey can live in the same city?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah.
it's that kind of thing. And I'm not going to get into,
No,
that.
no.
But yeah,
We need another couple hours of the show for that.
we're insane, we're weird, and right now we're incredibly expensive because tech is moving here. But yeah, it's
Well, you
it's a
guys have
great town.
outlawed weed, so tech should probably move out soon too. They'll move in and
Yeah,
out right away.
that's true.
They'll open a building,
Well,
fire
that's
up the smoked dope, and get right out.
well, we did that to get rid of Elon, but that's because you know about Elon and
I've
all
heard of
that,
him.
right? But
Yeah.
And
yeah.
how long have you
Okay.
been there?
I am here now going on 6 years.
Okay.
So we got out of here, and we actually got here um in 2019 and had a couple of away gigs, and then the pandemic hit. And so we didn't really get to start exploring the city until probably close to 2021.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. It's great. It's the opposite of every place I've ever lived, where you kind of stay indoors during the winter and then you go out and frolic and do all your thing during the summer. Here, it's winter is like 60 degrees, really nice. Summer is 185 degrees and just horribly, horribly humid. But it's the same thing. You just use your air conditioner more, and lovely people. We moved here from Wisconsin, which also has lovely people, but the first couple of months we were really freaked out because we'd go for a walk and everybody would wave. Everybody would wave to you, like from cars and riding their bike by. They'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" People would be like, walking in their front yard, and they'd look up from their gardening or whatever and wave. And I'm, I'm a social guy, but I've
Yeah.
never done that before. And I was like, do I know these people? Who are they? What? But yeah, we've loved it. It's a lot of great nature. The best barbecue by far anywhere. Sorry, regional people. You can't touch the brisket here. It's so freaking good.
Two
But
ways to take that.
and both are correct. So
Any advice for newer people in the business? If you were starting over again?
be a person, make make yourself hireable, make yourself fun to work with, make yourself good to work with, even more than fun to work with. Get your stuff in on time, do your corrections, cause as little trouble as you possibly can. I'm not saying be a doormat or anything, but do your job and do it willfully and cheerfully and well, and the rest will work. The
Yeah,
rest will work out.
and add timely to that, and you've got it all.
Timely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get
And
your that's a big one. Get it done on time.
yeah.
All right.
I've messed that up a few times, but
Yeah, but how many times have you messed it up versus how many times have you gotten it right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is, don't beg, don't have that sense of entitlement. Look for ways of making the whole thing better for everybody. And if you have to do something that's a little bit extra, do it, and don't bitch about it. If it's a lot, yeah, then charge for it. But if it's something you can do it. If it's something that is going to make the process easier for the next guy, do
Yeah.
it.
Well, let's also, because you mentioned that, I know that some bigger publishers have been asking, or sometimes will ask the actor to do a video promo for the book or something like that. And while it's entirely up to you, you can check with SAG-AFTRA, and you should, because in some of the contracts you get paid for that.
Yeah.
Not all, but so it really depends. But it depends what they're asking you to do. And
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's just nice. Here's Patrick talking about the book he's got coming up, that kind of thing. That's just smart. And if you're doing a royalty share, for God's sakes, promote the hell out of it, because
Exactly.
it's royalty share. Yeah, you want a piece of that action.
And
Everybody
if
go
you're
buy Harpo Speaks. I need the money. Go.
yeah, and if you're in New York, buy Johnny a drink,
Yeah, no, yeah.
because he'll give you.
I
It's
took a
the
whole
best
year
money
off.
you'll spend.
I had not had a drink from June 1st, except a couple of champagnes from last year.
Oh wow,
And
good for you.
and this last couple weeks, they got some interesting news. So I've had like maybe 2 drinks this week, which is a record for me
Oh my
after
God,
a year, because I stopped cold turkey.
Jesus!
Yeah.
Then buy him a taco.
Yeah, I might
You
get
know?
back. If you buy me a nice bourbon, I might get it done in a year now.
Whatever you do, it's the best money you'll spend, because he's a fountain of information. So he's a fountain of a lot of things, but
Yes.
information is in there too.
Fountain of water.
All right.
Yeah.
So as we close here, Johnny, anything you're looking to tell people about
Yes,
cool that you have coming up?
coming up, Paul Rubin and I are thinking in July or August, we will be doing a week. We'll give the details on my website or on Facebook, on the World Wide Web there. We're going to go to Philly, I think, to do a weekend workshop, or at least a Saturday, Paul Rubin and I. I'll get all the details. That's coming up this summer. The New England Narrator Retreat, where Don will be and I'll be, October 13th or 16th. We actually have, I think we have a couple of singles on site, because people moved into cabins. We have cabins now. So there's an extra cabin. There's about 4 or 5 double rooms and a couple singles, and then all the offsite stuff. So we have that's coming up. If you want to come to that, you should act fairly soon, because it does fill up. We have 4 great publishers. And one last thing I want to say, I'm very excited. I did a classic for Podium, multicast. Dracula comes out July 15th.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of the rare times an American gets to play a Brit. Yeah, because I'm not complaining, but I always notice that Australians and British are taking all the actor roles. I mean, all the roles in American TV.
Well,
Because
yeah.
God forbid, where are we going to find a black guy who can speak American here in America? We better get a British black guy over here to do it for us. So
They
it's
just
like,
sound better. Yeah.
so it's my turn to do reverse. So it's either
Give
gonna
them
be
hell.
wonderful or you're gonna be laud me or hate me. I don't know which,
God's
but it's coming up.
Godspeed, Mr. Heller. Give them
Yes.
hell.
Yeah.
Give them hell.
What are you working on,
No,
Patrick? What's your next
Patrick,
thing?
what are
no
you
prisoners.
anything cool?
I am actually doing the 4th installment of my Apocalypticon series by Clayton Smith. It's a lovely, so far 4-volume post-apocalyptic buddy travel series, and it has lots of action, lots of humor. Um, they basically have a liquefied and then burnt up Barry Bonds for you baseball fans. um, that's in the first one, so it's not.
Should we start with book 1?
You should start with book one.
I'll
It
get
is.
it. I've got some I'll go get it.
It's called Apocalypticon. Is the
Okay.
first one,
All right.
and that'll take you through. If you listen to the first one, it'll tell
Yeah.
you about the second one.
Yeah.
Don't listen to them out of order because it will just
Yeah. Excellent.
it'll explode your mind. I've got that, and then what do I have coming up after? That's enough. That'll keep you busy. And then a couple more things after that. So
And here in our show next week, we have Byron Wagner, and the week after that, Anna Clement is on. And
oh,
Don, what have
wow,
you got coming up?
And I have a piece of tech coming out this next week that's going to replace Second Opinion for all the people that have to check their own audiobooks. I've been working on this for months. It's crazy, and it's working really well behind the scenes. And I'll show it off next week, actually.
Excellent.
So we look
nice.
forward to seeing you, and thank you for joining us. Be sure to save, be sure to subscribe, be sure to post this on other groups that you're in. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. See you next week.
Bye, all.
Bye now.